Hi, I'm Sidharth.
I'm Dave.
I'm Wenhao.
And I'm Roshan. Hello and welcome to our book club. We're going to discuss an extremely inspiring and interesting narrative, one which we all thoroughly enjoyed reading, namely I Am Malala. It is the autobiography of a girl named Malala Yousafzai, and she stood up for women's rights in the highly oppressive Middle East and was shot by the Taliban for doing so. Thankfully, she survived this terrible ordeal so that we can have the fortune of reading this wonderful book.
So let's talk about the main characters first. This is Malala's father, Zahruddin, a modern, unconventional Pashtun father who mentored Malala in public speaking and politics. Then there's also Malala's mother, Tor Pakai, a very conservative and uneducated woman who constantly worries for Malala's safety due to her publicity, and yet does not blame Zahruddin for Malala's shooting. There's also Benazir Bhutto, who was Malala's role model due to her being Pakistan's first female prime minister who was subsequently assassinated by the Taliban.
Adding on, there's Raymond Davis, a controversial CIA agent who sparks rifts between Pakistan and USA and causes the diplomatic ties to weaken, especially after USA's handling of 9/11, supposedly embarrassing Pakistan's incompetence. Rasulullah, who was an influential Muslim leader who supported the Taliban violence. Finally, there's Dr. Fiona Reynolds, a British doctor, instrumental in Malala's recovery and symbol of crossover between Western and Islamic culture.
Actually, I think we should delve deeper into who Malala is. I mean, it is her name in the title of the book after all. Now, Malala is a Pakistani education activist from a small town of the Swat district in Pakistan. She is primarily known for women's rights and education activism in Swat Valley, where the Taliban has at times banned girls from attending school. A tremendous amount of bravery, and I think we can all agree on that, was required to be an activist like her in such a heavily oppressed area, and she was only our age when she was shot. Do you guys think that you could have displayed the same bravery in the face of something as utterly terrifying as the Taliban? Roshan, what do you think?
Well, I think that's a really good question, Dave. I definitely agree that she was tremendously brave, especially at her age. I think she was 15 when she was shot by the Taliban, if I'm not wrong. And I definitely cannot imagine myself at 15 doing something like that. And I think that she's someone who's very firm in her beliefs. And, I think I have a quote here, from her book. She said to, resolve herself, to justify what she's doing. She said, I told myself, Malala, you must be brave, you must not be afraid of anyone. You're just trying to get an education, you are not committing a crime. Now that's on her education activism, of course. And I think that's very admirable of her, yes.
Yeah, adding on, we really have to commend Malala for being very brave woman. Okay? She was just a female, a girl from Swat Valley. She went on to campaign for female rights in Swat Valley, a place where many females can't even comprehend the idea of gender equality.
It's very sad that their culture is so
Stringent?
Yeah, so stringent that they can't even comprehend the idea of equality in the senses. Yeah. I think Malala is very mature, I think, to see that equal rights and education is a right. So what do you guys think of that? How mature she was?
I mean, I definitely agree because, especially at such a tender young age of 15, that is a lot of maturity that she displays. And I think a lot of this maturity and bravery that she has actually comes from her father, Ziauddin, and the constant support that Ziauddin gave her in her journey in activism. Well, her father was what I would call her mentor in life, because without Ziauddin, she would not have gone into activism. And I strongly believe in that because of Ziauddin's guidance and from her beginnings, how she participated in small speech competitions to impress her father, to eventually becoming a full-blown activist who campaigns for women's rights in the face of the Taliban. And she became very famous, and I think her father really was her pillar of support throughout her venture into activism. And he also opened a lot of schools, and he was a role model for her which is probably what prompted her to become a women's rights and education activist at such a young age. For example, in the book, Malala talks about how as a kid she wanted to be a doctor or an engineer, which were very high ambitions at a young age, and these were obviously influenced by Ziauddin. And would you have encouraged your daughter to write and speak out if you were a father? And let's consider this in a Singaporean context.
Personally, if it was a Singaporean context, I would probably encourage her simply for the fact that Singapore is probably safer and more bent towards equality in a sense. It is okay for women to have women and females to have an education here. We don't exactly discriminate or say that women should not have an education. I mean, our society is patriarchal. Even in Singapore, I mean, we still have certain traditional beliefs like women should perhaps stay home and look after the children, or women should do the house chores perhaps. But no matter what, in the end, we still give them the education. I like the obviously more patriarchal and sexist society of Pakistan.
Because I think in Singapore context, yes, that would be so. Sidharth, do you think you could place yourself in a Pakistani context and answer the same question the same way?
Yeah, I would never have encouraged my daughter to speak up if I was Malala's father. Because you see, I would never even do anything to risk my life or her life to speak out against the Taliban, who were very well known were very notorious for their violent acts and such things. So no, I wouldn't have encouraged Malala to speak out.
And I think this just shows that Singapore is it's a crossover between both Western culture and traditional Asian values, because you can see that in Singapore, even though we are not quite as stringent as countries like Pakistan or the Middle Eastern countries, we still have certain traditions that we choose to uphold. Yes, despite the influence of Western culture, because we choose to be free but not too free with our words.
So I think it was interesting that you mentioned the risk of life there. So I think we related to how Malala got shot by the Taliban. Would you say, since you're saying that you wouldn't risk your daughter's life or your own life, would you say that it was her father's fault that she got shot?
Personally, yes. Because maybe people might think that Malala had a choice to do whatever she wanted to, but eventually it's her parents who were taking care of her. She was still pretty young, so maybe she might not have known what she was doing, or she might not have known the implications to what she was doing. So even though the mother even said later on that it wasn't the father's fault for Malala getting shot, I still believe that the father played a big role in why Malala got shot.
Actually, I agree. What do you think? Do you think that Ziauddin was the overarching factor, or?
No, I don't think Ziauddin was the overarching factor. I think the Taliban was the overarching factor, simply because the Taliban were the ones who shot her, were the ones who instilled this culture of oppression. I mean, if you think about it, Ziauddin was I don't think both of them actually expected Malala to be shot. I mean, there was this one section in the book, this one tiny sentence. They only said that the Taliban's. If I'm not wrong, they said the Taliban's don't go after little girls. That's what they believed. That's what they thought. They thought that she would be safe, and that they expected Ziauddin to be the one punished if anything even went in that direction, because they lived in such a patriarchal society where, in a sense, the father was the breadwinner as well as the head of the family. So in a sense, it would be expected for him to be punished for the wayward deeds.
In
of
fact,
his daughter.
I agree with that to an extent, and you can see certain examples in the book that show that Ziauddin and his family expected that Malala would not get shot and it would be Ziauddin. Because remember, there were certain instances where Malala told us about how in their house at night they would lock the gates and place a ladder at the back of their house to allow a quick escape route for her father. So this kind of shows how they expected Ziauddin to be the prime target and the prime target of the Taliban. And we can see that they were worried sick about Ziauddin, but in the end, wow, Malala was shot.
Actually, I think that the Taliban, they say that they don't go after little girls or anything. But I think that's because no little girl of Malala's age, none of them really campaigned for women's rights. None of them spoke up against the Taliban. Yeah, it has never happened before. This is the first time it's happening. And maybe that's why they shot Malala.
So basically, it was like an unforeseen accident.
Yeah. But
her father's part, perhaps. I'm not.
yeah, but I still kind of agree with Sidharth to an extent that to a larger extent that Ziauddin was responsible because as we discussed earlier, why wouldn't we do this in a Singaporean context? Why would we be able to do this in Singaporean context? Why wouldn't we do this in a Pakistani context? Obviously because of certain stringent values that are present in the Pakistani community which doesn't allow for such circumstances to take place. And so I feel that Ziauddin should have been aware of it even in his mind, because even if you didn't expect her to get shot, there's always a risk. And if it's better to prevent rather than try prevention is always the best method. So I feel that Ziauddin should have been more careful, or maybe at least they could have gone out of the country, gone somewhere else, and then done this activism. But I think in Swat Valley itself, it was very dangerous.
Okay, but at the same time, I think I disagree with you, Dave. I mean, at the same time, it's not only that Ziauddin should be the one preventing, but at the same time, it's also Malala's choice, is it not? I mean, she is the one who thinks that perhaps her life is worth giving to the cause of getting rights, of getting the right of education for women. Let's just quote afterwards she said, I don't want to be thought of as the girl who was shot by the Taliban, but as the girl who fought for education. This is the cause to which I want to devote my life. And that's what she said. She actually does. She probably did actually know that there was a risk, but even though they expected that it probably be Ziauddin, but at the same time she thinks that this risk is worth taking for the cause.
Okay,
I think we've heard some very good arguments from both sides. I think we should move on.
Yeah, just one more point. The thing about there's one thing that I can use to point out in your arguments that might be a little small, because you said earlier that it's precise. The Taliban might have shot Malala because other girls would have done it. Only Malala would have done it. And let's say Malala was any normal girl brought up by a family and a father who wasn't Ziauddin and was a typical Pakistani father. A girl who was born into that family wouldn't have done it. Malala didn't do it because she was Malala and it was her own intention. It's because her intentions were instigated by her father.
Yeah. The father encouraged Malala to do it in the first place.
He lit the fire and Malala soon grew into it and had a fuel the fire. And that's how it became. I think we should move on. Roshan,
I think we mentioned a wider family in that as well. I think we moved to her mother. I think her mother's relationship is not as mentioned in the book because her father plays a more central role. But I think the relationship with her mother is like, and I think her mother reveals some interesting things about the culture and all this stuff as well. So, you guys have anything to say?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, her relationship with her mom could signify a shift in thinking between the generations. Firstly, Malala and her mother were opposites. Malala was a very brave girl who received education and campaigned a lot for women's rights in Swat Valley. In chapter 1, page 19, Malala's father even says, Malala is free as a bird. signifying how much freedom and liberty she had. Malala had the choice to do almost anything she wanted in Swat Valley, and this was an opportunity that very few females got in Swat Valley. Unlike Malala, her mother was very conservative. This can be seen in the quote. My mother always told me, hide your face, people are looking at you. I would reply, it doesn't matter, I'm also looking at them. As you can tell, the mother was very cultured, and in her culture, women are not supposed to show their faces to other men, but Malala did not care. She proclaims that she has equal right to judge those who condemn her, and this is the main difference within the two. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that her mother's traditional background and like beliefs also stem from her lack of education. So when she was like about 6, I think she was sent to school, and then she quit after one term because she didn't like it, and her parents allowed that because, well, as a woman, her education wasn't as important as, say, for a man. And if she wanted to quit, if that was what she wanted to do, then sure, it didn't really matter anyway. Then she learned practical stuff and was brought up a very traditional Muslim, basically. And I think that's why she's not that she's not supportive, just that she doesn't really see eye to eye sometimes with Malala on these kind of things. Yeah. So
She doesn't support her, but she doesn't
Oppose her.
oppose her.
yeah, I guess you could say it's very neutral.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think it's like a thing about culture. You know, like their culture is very patriarchal. It's a very patriarchal society. They all believe that the women don't exactly have like the right. It's not exactly her lack of education per se, but I'm pretty because they earlier said that she wanted to be a doctor, if I'm not wrong, but then she decided, no, I want to be a teacher, I want to give voice to others, I want to like teach them. But the thing is that it's not that women are per se like, it's not exactly that women are like conservative because of their education, but more because of the whole like culture in Pakistan that they aren't exactly like encouraged. It's not because they don't have education. I mean, Malala's mother, even though they don't see eye to eye, she just says, okay, I won't like exactly talk about this. Like she like in this book, she also says, but she never from like immediately after the quote where you said that my mother used to tell me to hide my face. Immediately after that, she also mentioned, but she never banned me from doing anything. Like that's like what Malala says. I mean, it's not that the mother is conservative. I mean, her mother is conservative. It's just that she's not going to ban Malala or anything. She doesn't take away the freedom that she was denied. So I think it's a plus point in her like regard.
You know, I think there's something else we can discuss about her mom, because while her mom was conservative and as you said, she lacked the formal education that Malala has. Do you guys agree that Malala's mother was instrumental in also nurturing her the same way Ziauddin did, but in a different way? Because she, in one part of the book, she says, if we believe in something greater than our lives, then our voices will only multiply even if we are dead. You see, even though she lacks a formal education, she's able to say, she's able to grant valuable advice to her daughter and inspire her in the same way as Ziauddin does, even if she doesn't have the necessary experience or qualities to necessary to succeed in the same area.
It could be also a sort of like reverse role model in a sense, like
A cautionary tale.
yeah, like her mother basically like her mother regrets that she never had the education in the book, because she also says that because like after she married Ziauddin, she realized how much her education actually sort of hindered her, like her lack of education. So afterwards, I think that also sort of like she also serves as a cautionary tale for like her own daughter, and she supports her getting an education even though she's like worried for her safety.
Yeah, adding on to Wenhao's point about the mother, because before they got married, the Ziauddin did send like love letters and things to her mother, but in the book it was said that the mother couldn't read it, but she still loved Ziauddin. Yeah. So I think the mother didn't want Malala to miss out on anything that she missed out on. So she wanted Malala to get the education that she didn't get.
Yeah.
Speaking on her mother's regret for her lack of education, I think there's a quote here. Education had been a great gift for him, referring to Ziauddin. He believed that lack of education was the root of all the problems in Pakistan. So, what do you guys think about this? Do you agree? Because I can see from her Malala's mother's regret of her lack of education, I think maybe it's a problem.
Okay, the thing is, Ziauddin, I feel, is both right and wrong in a sense, because he's right to say this because in Pakistan, let's say all the women had actually gained a formal education, I'm sure that they could have stood up to
realize some of the injustices.
Yeah, to realize the injustices and also stand up to forces like the Taliban and oppose them in whatever malpractices they are trying to render in Swat Valley. But then the thing is, at the same time, you can't blame education because it's rather the lack of education that is the root of cause.
Yeah, because he believed that lack of education was the root of all.
Yeah, exactly. So oh wait.
He said lack of.
Oh, okay. What did you say? Lack of?
Yeah, I said that.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear.
For me, I do.
Okay.
For me, I do agree with Ziauddin on this because even in the book it was also said ignorance allowed politicians to fool people and bad administrators to be re-elected. So when one lacks education, they would have limited knowledge about a lot of things, and in this case, they have limited knowledge about politics. So when they have limited knowledge about politics, they tend to be more gullible. So they believe whatever the politicians say because they don't have any knowledge about about the world.
Yeah, and this can be supported by a quote by Malala. She said, "One child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world." So obviously she's metaphorically referring to education as a whole, and I'm sure that if Pakistanis had been educated as people in United States or Singapore are, then the whole landscape of Pakistan would be different. Maybe people like Benazir Bhutto wouldn't become an unusual thing. Female ministers would be common, perceptions of females would be different, practices would be different, Islam can be flexible.
Well, I think. Sorry, can I?
Okay, so basically, I kind of disagree. I mean, I do agree that lack of education is a very big cause, but it's probably not the biggest. I mean, there is the Taliban, and the Taliban is considered a terrorist organization, but it is still it still pretty much influences the power dynamics in the country itself, very, very much so. It's not exactly that women will be able to stand up for themselves the moment they have education, but I think it's because this is all steeped in their culture currently, like as well as their religion, that they believe that women are somehow lesser than men, or perhaps not really lesser than men, but they don't need education, as they should be they should be caring for the family and for the home instead, you know?
They believe that women have different jobs in society,
Yeah.
basically. And I think when we talk about education, we mean a complete, almost unbiased education where we truly learn about the stuff that goes on in the country, nothing's held back. Now, I think in Pakistan, the education there, if I'm not wrong, wouldn't be as open as that. So we're assuming that it's completely open. And I think a good education, because Taliban recruits insecure or gullible Muslims, you see, who believe they have been wronged or oppressed, or like just believe in a certain ideology of a way of believing in Islam, which is, I think as Malala has said, completely incorrect. And they take the gullible ones, those who maybe have not been as educated on the topic.
No, but you see, if they did receive education, and it's
It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, no. If they did receive some form of education, then they would still
Cannot be deceived into.
Yeah, they wouldn't be that deceived that easily.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would say it would happen less,
Oh.
which would mean the problem of the Taliban really wouldn't have happened in the first place.
Yeah. So the lack of education as the audience said, is
Yeah.
the root cause of all the problems.
And
Dave, your quote earlier, I think about Malala, talking about how one book, one pen can change the world.
Yeah.
I think that was also talking about the power of words
Yeah.
in a modern society. With social media, mass media, etc.
Mm.
I think words have become very, very powerful.
In fact, that's a good point you brought up because you realize that spoken words are actually becoming a substitute for education, like for people like Malala, because Malala is an activist, right? Once she had left the UK and she had gone further in her political career, she started to give speeches and world UN conferences and all that, right? I'm very sure that spoken words have a bigger impact than education because obviously her prior education forms the basis for whatever information includes her speech, but speech is very important because she's allowed to express herself on a global stage where everyone will notice what she's saying. Yeah.
Actually, supporting what you said, that there's another quote in the book, in chapter 11, page 77, where it says, the Taliban could take our pens and books, but they could not stop our mind from thinking. And yeah, it supports your point because like they don't need proper education to stand up against
Exactly.
the Taliban. They just need their minds to put their thoughts across.
Yeah, thoughts, and you have to articulate them as well. If
Yeah.
you just keep them there, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, Wenhao, do you have anything to add?
Okay, then if we have nothing else to add on, then let's move on. How does Malala describe the growing effects of the Taliban in Swaziland?
Okay.
Yeah, Dave.
Okay, so, well, obviously, as we can read our autobiography, we learned that the influence of the Taliban wasn't predominant from the start. At the start, it was very minimal because at the beginning, everything was focused on people like General Zia and previous military regimes that were happening in Pakistan. But the thing is, as time went by, because of the turbulence and the current unstable political situation in Pakistan, and also after the effects of 911 in USA, the Raymond Davis case, USA's accusing of them, then it became very clear that the Taliban were going to make use of this situation to exploit the situation in Pakistan. So, and then she starts to bring up how Fazlullah came in, and then after Fazlullah came in, he spread his ideology to the whole Pakistan. People were worshipping him through radio broadcasts, and then at the end, towards the end, just before the end, they say how the military promised to work with the citizens to help them against the Taliban, but they never did so. And in the end, it became a full-blown regime. Malala got shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that the Taliban did have a large impact in Swaziland, especially in terms of their cultural change. Because in page 124, Malala says, "We felt like the Taliban saw us as little dolls to control, telling us what to do and how to dress." This says a lot about what the Taliban intended to do with the people of Swaziland. They wanted the females to dress in a certain way and firmly said that females shouldn't go to school. The locals eventually had accepted it because they couldn't say anything else against them, and that was a great impact that the Taliban did have on.
Roshan, I have a question for you. Regarding the point that Sidharth just made, right? In one sentence, he said that women must dress this way and women shouldn't go to school. These were prescribed by the Taliban, right? There's the one interesting quote made by Malala in the same book that extremists are afraid of books and pens. The power of education frightens them. They are afraid of women. So, do you agree with what she says?
Well, I think that they saw preventing women from going to school as, well, it's kind of like a double positive. So, for one, Muslims, like generally, Islam is very patriarchal. Secondly, they're preventing basically half the society from being able to speak up, which is going to make their job of radicalizing the regions a lot easier. because they like half the population is basically their opinion doesn't count. So if they're not happy with the Taliban, too bad, you can't do anything about it. So I think maybe that was also something that they wanted to do.
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not only that how the society is there. It's that it's not. It doesn't. It basically empowers men far more than like other societies do. So essentially, men are allowed to carry guns. They are allowed to own property, and they essentially own their wives. I mean, their wives might have control over might have control over the household if they're lucky at this point. But it's because it's so because the fact is that their religion, culture, and society basically makes these men much stronger. And then again, so these men are very unlikely to actually oppose like these Taliban simply because they are benefiting from it. I mean,
so it's also to win over the support of the men.
yeah.
And I think again this was back to the religion that the Taliban used to manipulate the locals, because they did use religion as an excuse to like set rules and set new rules, and the gullible locals accepted that. The book even reads, "Only learn what God says. His words are divine messages which you are free to interpret." This is eventually what the Taliban did. They twisted the words said in the Quran and manipulated the locals into believing in something that is not actually true.
Actually, the respect of women, actually, in the Quran, everyone is supposed to be treated with respect. Islam is actually a religion of respect. But the Taliban twisted the words, and because women traditionally have different jobs, okay? It's not that they are lesser, it's just that their job is this, men do this. But the Taliban twisted it as women are lesser than men or less than men. And which is incorrect. And to, I guess, win over the support of the men, as Wenhao mentioned. So this was the way the Taliban hijacked the religion. I think Malala said, when referring to the Taliban, they are not Muslims. And because she said that they had twisted the Islamic faith so much that we could not call them Muslims.
Yeah.
So, adding on to what Roshan said, Malala even says in the book that the Quran teaches us sabr, which means patience, but often it feels that we have forgotten the word and think Islam means women sitting at home and purdah or wearing burqas while men do jihad. In this, Malala highlights the fact that what these terrorist groups believe in are way different from the true Islamic beliefs.
So yeah, I think what Sidharth trying to say that sabr means patience, and Islam is commonly referred to actually as the religion of tolerance. So it's about tolerating and respecting people, and what we can see from Taliban is that's not what they are preaching at all. So I think that's what Sidharth's trying to say.
Okay, so now I think we can offer a brief synopsis of our discussion so far. So this was taken from the summary of the book. When the Taliban took control of the Swat Valley, one girl spoke up. Malala Yousafzai refused to be silenced and fought out for a right to an education. On Tuesday, October 9th, 2012, she almost paid the ultimate price. I think we can safely say that this amazing girl that we have discussed about has laid the path for youths in our society to step up and serve an important role in our societies.
Yeah.
So, do you want to summarize what we spoke about?
Well, we went through Malala's relationship with her father, her mother, how her maturity, and well, we gave an intro to her in the story also. And we moved on to the importance of education and whether lack of education is one of the biggest problems facing Pakistan and maybe even the world right now. And we discussed the growing effects of the Taliban in the Swat Valley, which is discussed in the book. And yeah, I think that, and we discussed how Islam was twisted and hijacked by the Taliban as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sidharth, about her parents' role in her life.
So yeah, the parents of Malala, they did play a big role in her life. The mother didn't really encourage her or anything, but she didn't really oppose what Malala thought. So yeah, she was just she just gave a helping hand for whatever she needed. And he really played a big role in Malala's life because he was the one who first spurred up Malala to think of these equality ideas. And yeah.
Okay, and finally, Wenhao, please deliver a fitting conclusion.
Well, in the end, I think that she is an amazing girl, and despite her challenges, I think she's done well for herself, becoming a global activist. And we can all agree that she's very, very brave.
Yeah, I guess we could all learn something from Malala Yousafzai. Thank you for tuning into our discussion, and goodbye.
Bye.